our New Jack Swing podcast. Got Stevie Street and we got Mr. Sheldon Taylor. How you guys
Good
doing?
evening, folks.
All right. Good evening. Good evening.
What record store are you broadcasting live from this week, Namdi?
Yeah, it's the old HMV out in the Oxford Circus.
Very good.
Yeah, so maybe to
They've
be able to stand in
have
here
some exclusive
and
access this evening, have they?
yeah. I mean, we're still trying to promote the CDs and stuff. You know, I don't know if you saw a little interview that Snoop did. He says his lawyers told him he did 1 billion streams, but he only made like $30,000 and stuff like. So yeah, so we're trying to promote the CDs and record stores because that's hard cash you can make and stuff. Hey, Old School Flavor, good evening. You can join us. Well, today, as you can see in the ticket below, we are gonna. This was pretty hard, guys. Our favorite album from the from the New Edition clan. So it's either one of their new edition albums, the old ones, or the new ones, or any solo stuff from the guys. So yeah, this was quite hard. But yeah, before we get into that, it'll be good just to do some quick music news. Stevie, do you want to start? Anything?
I guess the main talking point is the intro documentary. It's posted online this week for everybody to watch. We're all very grateful of that. Compelling viewing. A lot of footage from it from the 90s I'd never seen before. And quite, I guess I don't want to spoil it if you've not seen it, everybody, but quite hard viewing, heartbreaking ending as well. You know, if do you see it, Sheldon, at all, or is it still on your watch list?
I did see it. Yes, I saw it. I saw it when it dropped. Yeah, very informative. Like you said, very heartbreaking, you know, but it closed the gap on a lot of things that, you know, people who are intro fans, they may not have known what actually happened. So if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out, people.
And they've reissued they've reissued their first album, so double vinyl. It looks great, but it also feels, don't be too critical, maybe a missed opportunity, because I suppose the people they're aiming at will already have the album. If you didn't get it on vinyl, then it's worth getting hold of, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess it's I think they could have put down some remixes
maybe
or something
just
like
couldn't
that.
License them. Maybe it may have a licensing issue, but it does look a nice package. There's only 750 copies. I think if I buy one, I'll probably never open it because I've got the album on CD. It'd just be nice to have to hold. You know what I mean? Because I didn't. I remember it did come out on vinyl on East West in the UK because there were, you know, the record label sent out promo copies of it. So there is, but it's worth picking up if you've not got the original album. Definitely.
Yeah. Sheldon, any music news before we start the countdown?
I'm seeing Keith Sweat is here in America, and he's on his last tour. He's doing a final tour run, which shocked me.
Yeah. Well, I think Elton John has done a number of those, so I think it is a good marketing ploy. His farewell tour, so who knows? You know, he may come out of retirement after 2 years because he was supposed to do the Kings of New Jack Swing tour with Teddy and next year at 2204, but maybe he's got a deal to do a sort of a farewell tour. But yeah, and they didn't put a number of cities in there, so I'll be wondering how that would go. So he could be retiring to make his last farewell album, and then who knows?
Yeah. Also, too, on Paramount Plus, they have the Thriller 40th anniversary documentary that came out on the 2nd or 3rd of December. So that's
it was last weekend. Yeah,
for people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw it, and it's
I saw that. I saw it last night actually, and I think we said on a previous podcast. I mean, we're just so lucky to have come through that period and seen the phenomenon of Michael Jackson and Thriller. I think we have discussed it before, but great documentary.
It is. There's definitely good. My only disappointment for those is that I thought Teddy should have been on that. That was just my only
Yeah, I'd
disappointment
rather
because
seen
he
Teddy on
did.
it than
Yeah.
Mark Ronson. I don't know what Mark Ronson was doing
Yeah,
at all.
yeah. So that was my only disappointment that Teddy should have been on that documentary, especially directed by George Nelson, who
Nelson George.
Nelson George. So he should. I don't know why Teddy wasn't invited to be on that documentary. That's my only
I had
disappointment. But
I had a
other than that,
conversation. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I had a conversation with Nelson
no, finish.
George right before this dropped. I think I had a conversation with him this past summer. So we're talking. I had a conversation. I was in Philadelphia. He showed up for that I attended, and we had a conversation. Said that
Okay.
the challenge in making a documentary is that a lot of the major players had kind of have passed away, and even with Quincy Jones, he had to go ahead and get a lot of older stock because there were some things that because Quincy's like 90, 91 years old. So I had to go back and get a lot of stock
Yeah, I can
footage,
imagine.
which
Yeah.
was
Okay.
really good because it kind of really captured the documentary well.
Yeah. So we've said there's the intro documentary. There is the um, um, we've talked about the Thriller 40, and also intros vinyl CD that's out and stuff. In the interim, so we can get started. So tonight, guys, as I said, if you're just joining in, we are counting down our favorite New Edition album from the collective. It could be any of the New Edition group releases or a solo release from Bobby, Ronnie, as a BBD, Ralph, and Johnny Gill. So I don't know who's going to start off this week. I think was I? Did I? Yeah. Who else? Does anyone
I think
volunteer
it's
to
me
start?
this week. I think.
Okay.
I'll start. You want?
Okay, go ahead. And yeah, I can go next, and then Sheldon. And this is starting from number 10.
Okay. Number 10. I went for a Bobby Brown remix package.
You went for the remix. Okay.
A bit of a surprise. People would have expected this going in at number 10. But remix is in the key of B. I would say that in the past, record company remix packages have always been a bit of a cash-in. And, they always put the mixes on that maybe people wouldn't have gone and bought on a 12-inch single or a CD single. But I thought this was a superb package. You're getting 2 tracks that were probably made for the Bobby album, but didn't make it. One was produced by Stanley Brown, another one produced by Teddy Riley, which are both really solid tracks, worth it for the price of the CD alone. And then you get remixes from the likes of Kim from the Boys. I thought and Jermaine Dupri. I thought all the remixes on the package, the way it was sequenced from start to finish. I thought it was a superb remix package. The artwork, the linear notes, everything about it. I just think great package. This. I know if you're a Bobby, you probably have this if you're a Bobby Brown fan. If you don't, get it. It's really, really, it's a really strong listen. This.
Yeah, I can tell a little story about that. So when that came out, I was living in Alabama, and BET had MCA and BET had a special where if you called in on Video Sold, you'd win a copy of the remix album of the Mary 411 remix and Shy's remix, and I won, and I got all 3 of them sent to me. And yeah, my only disappointment has always been, I'm such a massive Teddy Riley fan. The fact that L.A. Reid had to remix Something in Common in the KB, it just threw me off. I was like, what? The original Teddy version would have been 100 times better than any stuff. So that was just my only gripe with that album. But yeah, it's a good choice. My number 10. And this was hard, and I never expected this album to make it in. It's Let's Get in the Mood, Johnny Gill. I didn't. Yeah, and
it's a good album.
And
That's
just to
say
album. That I'm telling you,
that's the album we're talking about.
Yeah, it surprised me how good. I mean, what Johnny did with the album, just set a tone. Like the first the Johnny Gill album, we had all the ballads, and it had the sort of the up track. He just went slow and just got the right producers. I mean, I was like pleasantly surprised with how consistent, and especially around 96 and stuff. So yeah, that was that enters number 10
What
for
tracks?
me.
I mean, my picks from that album would have been the track with Roger Troutman, "It's Your Body," which I thought.
Oh yeah, and he produced that too. Yeah, he produced that. Yeah, that as I said, I was a pleasant surprise how well that album was and the vibe just throughout it. And I think that's why I like the 112 album so much, because it's that sort of vibe, the sort of slow vibe and nothing too heavy, and that's what that Johnny Gill album, Let's Get in the Mood, really
You got
did.
Big
So
Bub.
much
Big
respect to
Bub did
Johnny.
a few tracks on this album.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
what a lot of people
Yeah.
don't know is there is a different version of this album that didn't come out with a few different tracks on it. The promo tape, promo cassette has some different tracks that didn't make this, unfortunately. We'll probably never get to hear them, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he had he had Jimmy Dupree do some tracks. He had Carl West and I'll Be Sure. R. Kelly did some tracks. The Characters, and still Tony Rich did a few tracks, as well as Jimmy and Terry.
The only thing I would
And,
say about it though is, and I was looking at, like I say, looking at my top 10, I thought, I'm going off, did they have any classics on it? And I'm thinking, is there anything classic on this album? It's a solid album. All the track, there's some brilliant tracks on it, but was there any classics that stood out from it? And that's probably why.
And probably what kept the album from doing doing big numbers. But it was just the same, that if you just listen to a vibe, that like not a disappointing album, that was it. Sheldon, what went your number 10? Oh, we can't hear you, Sheldon. Sheldon, okay. Are you there, Sheldon?
The usual audio problems we missed.
No, we can't hear you, Sheldon. We can't hear you this time. Yeah, no, he was talking, and then he just went. We lost Sheldon there. Yeah, we can hear you now. Go ahead. What made you number 10? Yeah. Sheldon, you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah. So what made your number 10?
It's freezing, isn't it? It's like going in a circle. This.
Okay. Yeah. Sheldon, do you want to try and go and come out and stuff, and we'll see?
Here's a project that didn't make my top 10, and you probably didn't think about this while Sheldon tries to come back in. The Biv 10 Entertainment compilation package, which featured Boys to Men and all the artists that he signed to his label at the time. This is a very interesting compilation. There's some really good stuff on this. Sheldon, are you with us? Oh, it's a shame.
Yeah. Okay. Well, while he gets himself sorted out, stuff. Well, let's go to your number 9.
I'll just mention a few bits that didn't make it. Then, like I say, this compilation had Another Bad Creation on it. It had who else? Miss Bozak. I don't know if you remember that. I forgot her name, but again, it was a good rap R&B compilation. I don't think really, apart from Another Bad Creation and Boys to Men, none of the artists really took off from this. It seemed to have signed a lot of artists, but they didn't really. And again, it's even hard to find this now. It was hard to get at the time. Even hard to find in the record shops. That was the MC Brains. Do you remember him? If you remember him?
Yes.
Who else? There was some guys called the White Guys, and I don't know whatever happened to them. Another project from Bobby Brown was the B Brown Posse.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It came out in '93, and it just kind of, I just remember it slipping out there, and I felt they'd already released the single, the B Brown Posse.
Yeah,
Felt when I heard it, I thought it sounds 2 years too late. This, it sounds like it should have come out in 1991. It was a full-on New Jack Groove for 1990.
And I think what might have been happening is that they probably wanted to wait till the Bobby album came out, and then they come out on the top of that. But I just unfortunately the Bobby album didn't become the mega success. You know, the Bobby album didn't get the mega success that they expected it. So that jumping on the code of it and stuff.
I think
so,
this was like MCA's attempt to give Bobby Brown a label of his own.
Well, I'm sure they thought, they assumed, because they expected big things, and they just thought, everyone else was doing the little side deals and stuff, but he probably just wasn't in the right headspace to be able to manage all that stuff.
I mean, he signed some deep. There was a guy called Harold Travis, which had a great voice. I don't know what he released a single from this. I don't know what happened to him. But yeah, there's some rap stuff that I didn't really care for. But the R&B stuff on here is really good. Let's see if we can get Sheldon back.
Are you back, Sheldon? Sheldon, can you hear us?
Oh, it's a shame he's struggling tonight.
Yeah, he does. Anyway, I mean, he'll catch up and stuff. So, but what makes your number your number 9?
Let's see what's my number 9. Right, 1984 New Edition is at number 9 for me.
Okay,
On the strength of the first 3 tracks, which were the singles, "Cool It Now," what's up? I thought it was a great track. And then how could you not mention New Edition without the track "Mr. Telephone Man"? It's just one of my all-time favorite New Edition tracks. I mean, it was a cover. For those who don't know, it was recorded a year earlier in 1983 by a guy called Junior Tucker. So you can YouTube that and hear Junior Tucker's version of "Mr. Telephone Man." Some would argue it's a better version, but I just think the overall cuteness of a group, and that video of it being in a phone box, I really enjoyed it. And then the third track was "I'm Leaving You Again," which has got a nice mid-tempo 80s groove that was sampled by, I don't know if you remember, a track by Bow Wow and Ciara called "Like You." That whole music behind that was basically New Edition, "I'm Leaving You Again." The whole track. Okay. But those were the early days of New Edition, just after they come off the success of Candy Girl. It's a good album. It's a nice album to have if you've not got it. New Edition fans will know all about the album because they wanted the telephone.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Sheldon, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Can you
hear us, Sheldon?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Do you want to go your number 10? And, yeah. Do you want to go your number 10?
Yeah. Just to piggyback off of that New Edition album, very good follow-up. That record wound up selling like 2 million copies, man, and shows their popularity at the time. My number 10 is Ralph Tresvant.
Nice.
The reason why that was my number 10.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's a really, really great album. Love the fact Jimmy and Terry was down and they just gave him a lot of great tracks. I just think that at the time he came in on the tail end of all this that had come out between 88 and 90, 91 time. It was more, it kind of fit him. Everyone else had a lot of up tempos, and that was really popular at the time. Had the low mid tempo records. Even though my all time on that album is Rated R. That's the first track.
Okay.
Jam and Lewis is they're sampling the Temptations' Masterpiece. That's why when you hear Ralph saying, "Hit me with the masterpiece," things that you hear in the beginning of the song is they're sampling the Temptations masterpiece. So that's great songs on there. Great
Okay.
songs, great producers.
Okay. Yeah, definitely good album, and I had it a little bit higher up, so I'll talk to it when I come to it. Um, Let me see now. Yeah, so
So you're
one,
number
two,
9.
three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Um, Seems to have been an issue here. You know what happened is Let's Get in the Mood actually was not in my
Oh
top
dear.
10.
I
Yeah,
wondered. I thought
unfortunately.
that's a
So that's
strange choice for you.
yeah. I was looking at my the numbering here, and I
Tell
was
you
thinking,
what,
well,
then
how
give
come
us your
that
number 10
says
and number 9.
Actually, no, it did
Oh,
make
it
it my
did.
top 10. So sorry, it was number 10. So my number 9 actually is the Forever album,
Wow.
Bobby Brown, which I know might sound strange, but um, I initially when the Forever album came out, I turned off. It's like there's no Teddy, there's no LA and Babyface. I'm not listening to it because initially all the work was the word on the street was he was going to work with those guys and do a massive album, but then something went down where he didn't work with them. Instead, he worked with DOA Allen, who did College Girl off the Bobby album. So he did I think 3 or 4 tracks. He worked with Tim and Bob, and actually I was surprised how Bobby held it together, and it was just a nice vibe. I love Tim and Bob. They're consistent in whatever they do, their background harmonies and stuff. And they got Bobby to sing some real good slow jams, because he didn't do any real slow jams other than College Girl and I can't remember the other one on the Bobby album. But I was loved what they did for Bobby and really got him to sing. So um, yeah, Forever made it was my number 9.
I mean, what I would say about the
You
album
went,
again, it had some for 1997. I think we've discussed it. It kind of slipped out, didn't do much. It's
yeah.
it's a nice listen. There's some solid tracks on it. Tim and Bob on it there. They produced some good track. There's nothing classic on it though. There's nothing, like I say, there's some solid 7 out of 8 ballads, mid tempos on it, but nothing outstanding. And this was the issue with this. I'm looking at what the label would have went with single wise. They probably listened to it, thought, well, what can we really work with on this?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think Feeling Inside was the strongest track on there. I probably would have gone for Give It Up. I liked because the guy who did the vocoder, it was like a poor man's Teddy with the vocoder on there. But yeah, but he didn't really. If he just needed a big track on that album, and then on that out and as a single, and then that would have been it.
That's why I'm surprised it's made
Anyway,
your top 10. Very surprised.
because as I said, it was just more of a consistent vibe. I just felt it was just a good consistent vibe, and actually they got Bobby to sing well. Yeah,
What are we on? Sheldon's number 9.
Yeah, Sheldon, what makes you number 9?
Let's Get the Mood Right, the Johnny Gill. To me, that was a great follow up to the Johnny Gill album. A lot of great songs on there. Like you were saying before, there may not have been like a memorable centerpiece like My or Rub You the Right Way, but I think
Yeah,
a good album. I was really because the one for that master whatever it was, I didn't like that one so much. That was the one that came out like in 92, 93 or whatever. But this one, to me, it's the companion piece to the I won't say to the first Johnny Gill album because he made other albums before that, but the 1990. So great songs.
yeah.
My favorite song he had with Roger, and then there's one we sampled Teddy Pendergrass's I think it was come with those records, man, and he's he's killing it, man.
Yeah.
Great
Okay.
album, but also too, I think the album got lost in the crack between the cracks because at the time in '96.
Wow.
Oh, Sheldon.
So and
Sheldon's
I don't know if
okay.
it was Motown also going Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can
Can
hear
you
you
hear me?
now. Okay, so what you just said is that the album dropped the same year that the Home Again album came out. So it just meant he didn't have he wasn't able to promote it at the same time. Yeah, which
Yeah.
was a shame. They should have timed it 97. So yeah.
And also it's the transition 96, 97 window when Andre Harrell had taken over Motown. So I think the album kind of got lost in the cracks, falling between the cracks during that transitional Motown. Harold Busby and
Yeah.
Clarence Avant, and now Andre Harrell. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense anyway. Stevie, what's your number 8?
Number 8, just let me confirm on my list so I don't get this wrong. Right, number 8 was Ralph Tresvant's Sophomore album. It was the Sophomore, wasn't it? It's Going Down from 19...
Sophomore, yeah.
I'd say the bulk of it was produced and written by him. I would say the production, I was indifferent at the time about this album. I thought the production he did, there was some really interesting like R&B New Jack production on it. And I think the issue was the songs. I don't think the songs stood up that he did. He might, take issue with that. But the songs that did stand out, and the reason why I've included it in my top 10, because I just think the two brilliant songs was Who's the Mac, produced and wrote by Jam and Lewis, and When I Need Somebody, which just an amazing record. When with the two singles, they had to be. They also did Sexo, which didn't really do it for me, but based on the strength of the two Jam and Lewis produced and wrote tracks, which is superb. This is my number 8. It's a good listen, this. It's good, like I say, the production's kind of interesting on it. It's kind of dark in places as well. Totally unexpected, but it has, as an album, there's bits of it that have stood the test of time, I feel. So give it another listen.
Yeah. I was surprised that he waited 4 years before he did a follow-up to Sensitivity.
But remember,
and I
though,
think that probably hurt his the trajectory.
The thing about it, look back at it. If you look at what he did when he came out with that album, that's the same year, 93, 94, Biv Devoe, Hootie Mac, that's go around. And I think with the Tresvant album, my favorite song on there is Who's the Mac, and he's got the whole Marvin Gaye multi-track vocals, the Marvin Gaye samples and stuff like that. That's my bet. That's my only. I love that song. The rest of them are okay, but I think that he's now starting to, stretch his chops of writing and producing. Because remember, is that they're getting the money, royalties and stuff like that on the album sale. No publishing on the writing side. So if you see what him and Bobby are trying to do, they're really kind of trying to write more and all of that, But I just think that, it was one of those records. It was a transitional record for him. But Who's the Mac really came. But you said there wasn't really a lot of signature songs that we saw. There was really not a sensitivity on that album. But I love the video,
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, Stevie, that was your number 8. Yeah. So my number 8 was Ralph's debut album, Sensitivity, which we've already spoken about earlier. Which I think the biggest thing I would have done if I was A&R at MCA, I would have put out Stone Cold Gentleman featuring Bobby Brown as the first single, because Bobby was riding high. You have them both in the video. If you saw them on Arsenio Hall doing their dance stuff, it would have just been like, okay, just Bobby was big. You ride on the coat of Bobby Brown, because coming out with Sensitivity was a good stuff, but it just felt like we just had Rob You the Right Way. We just had Poison, and we were still rocking Don't Be Cruel. And then it felt like, okay, let's slow it down. And it just felt like, okay, Ralph's just going to be the cool guy in the corner. And I think it just didn't help his album.
I
He should have come out with Stone Cold Gentleman.
Disagree with you so much there.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think that track
I
sold
think
the album. It was huge. It was a huge record.
but
I watched it fly
it
out the record stores week in, week out, copies of Sensitive. People were just buying it, Namdi. It flew out the stores.
yeah, but it didn't help. It didn't help the album. The album went platinum. He should have had a double or triple platinum album.
I thought Stone Cold
And I
Gentleman was
think,
kind of, it was weak. It was a weak track. Well, that's
yeah,
again,
but
we agree to disagree. So
yeah,
this
but
podcast.
it's the kind of it is the kind of stuff that I you know, as I said, when you put on a marketing hat on, you just you take you say, okay, if we haven't seen Bobby in a while and see him on that, and then you come out with a sensitivity that just goes with the summer
What
vibe.
do
But
people,
as I
you
said,
know, that song? That's what people remember the album for. That song has lasted 30 years. That is a classic. Stone Cold Gentleman isn't.
yeah,
It's just, it's a good new Jack track of the time. It's got a catchy chorus, but Sensitivity, mate, it's a classic.
yeah, yeah. No, I'm not doubting it. But what happens is like when you think of the Bobby album, everyone thinks about Humping Around because that was the first track, and that's what gets all the
I
attention.
can't say how is that
And that's why
disappointing first. It's not. It's probably the standout track on the album.
yeah, but you know, sometimes actually the second when you so sometimes when the second track's bigger than this first one, it then gives it another layer. But yeah, but that was my only thing. But as I said, as an album, it was good. You know, and actually, you know, seeing the fact that he could rap, because I tried to it, which we didn't get to see much from the New Edition days. So that to me, that was why I just loved the whole vibe of the album and stuff. And I wish he did Yo Baby if that had made the album, but that was a song that he did for the House Party soundtrack. But yeah, so that was my number. Yeah, Ralph made my number 8.
Well, it's in there. At least it's made
Yeah.
the top 10, which I think is good.
Yeah, it's Selden. In and out. What makes your number 8?
Oh wow, that was a hard one for me after, you know, the Johnny Gill and the Ralph Tresvant. But for my number 8, it probably is going. People are going to probably shoot me for this. They're going to shoot me for this, but it's going to be the Home Again album.
Whoa.
They're
Why
going to
would
shoot
they
me
shoot
for that.
you? It's a, you know,
Good album. Because a lot of people may love that album. You know, for New Edition to go ahead and come back, rated higher. But Home Again is an 8. The reason why I like the Home Again is it gave you all the flavors. It gave you all the flavors of all the 6 members. So if you look at certain songs that were made that Bobby was singing lead on, they really were tailored to his voice. And then when you look in terms of what Ralph was doing, and then you saw Ricky doing a lot of singing, so it was a great culmination. It was like an update, like the first song on the album. What's the one? Feels So Good. Mm-hmm. It was great because you got all the different flavors of. You see BBD running, Johnny and Bobby doing their thing, Ricky doing their thing, singing the hook, you know, the bridge. So Home Again was a really great showcase for all of them. So it wasn't like, okay, we're gonna put this record out and Ralph's just gonna sing on every song. So it was a great update. It was good to see Ricky singing more. Yes, sir, Joe Perry. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Stevie, what made you number 7?
Number 7, Home Again, New Edition. I'll be honest, this could have been, it gets so hard from now on. This could have been number 1. It's a great R&B album.
Yeah.
I was just looking through the credits before. You're Gonna Get Your Love Served. What a great track, produced by Gerald Levert. Gerald Levert produced that. Shop Around. Oh my God. You know, then you've got towards the end, I'm Still in Love with You, that big dramatic ballad. I mean, what a ballad that was. Then you've got the club tracks, You Don't Have to Worry, Hit Me Off, Something About You. It's a solid album. It really is a solid album. And 1996, that was the year that I first went to America. I actually bought this in the US.
Oh wow, okay.
I actually bought this in the US because Hit Me Off was on. It was on a power play. It was on every radio station being played all I heard was 5 records on radio in the US. The payola ones, it was No Diggity, Hit Me Off, Swing My Way, Johnny Swing My Way. It's fine, and that's all I ever heard for 2 weeks on the radio. So, but yeah, it could have been anywhere 7 onwards, but it's made its number 7.
Okay.
This is a great album. You know, I can play it from start to finish. What a reunion this was. You know, what a reunion it was. Brilliant.
Okay. My
I
number.
remember Vibe magazine. The Vibe an issue in '96. They did a joint. It was on the cover of magazine back in '96 when that album dropped, and of course inside Black Street piece as well. But New Edition was on the cover. I remember that. Yep.
Okay. My number 7 is Prerogative and Johnny Gill. That's a Prerogative.
Prerogative, Johnny Gill.
Yes.
Prerogative's Bobby Brown.
No, not
that album.
No, it was his follow-up.
Provocative.
Yeah, Provocative. Yes.
Right.
Provocative.
Yeah.
That's the album. Yeah, I got it. That's the one I didn't.
Yeah, that's it right there. Yeah.
92. Yeah.
I mean, Motown must have a big budget because the fact that he got Boyce, he got Jam and Lewis, he got LA and Babyface, and they pretty much did all the whole album. I think one track with Boyz II Men, but it was, and that's the thing about I had to give it down to Johnny Gill is the fact that Motown didn't play after the Any Heartbreak. They said, okay, we're going to put money and get the best producers, and another solid album, just great production all around. Had a lot more. I just loved how much as I said, the investment they put in the album, the fact that Masterpiece, Master Suite, The Floor. Yeah, I mean it's just definitely a good album.
I mean, it's a solid album, but let me ask you this: name me a better track on this album than Ralph Tresvant's Sensitivity. I'm looking at where you put your 10 top 10, because that, again, solid R&B album. Is there actually any classics on this album? Think about it. Just, are they classics?
Yeah, but if
is a classic, name me a better track on this album than I'm just playing devil's advocate and listeners, tell me, please, someone tell me.
Yeah, but if you as I said, there is there's if we were going through favorite tracks,
not a chance.
If we're going for a favorite track, but I can't. Yeah, but it is tough to love an album before 2 songs when an album has at least 10 tracks on there. So you're thinking about an album, and 2 tracks or 3 tracks on an album would not be enough for me. I would need to hear it. Say if I had to go on a trip and have the whole album. But for me, this was I felt it was a much better album. It didn't have Sensitivity, but I felt it was a better album.
The Floor, not a chance. The Floor is just generic New Jack. It's a generic New Jack record. I'll tell you what is, Where No Man Has Gone Before, the Jam and Lewis track, that is a superb swing R&B track. Superb. Song, melodic, flows. That should have been a single. I would say what does stand out on it, A Cute Sweet Love Addiction, which was a single. It's got a Marvin Gaye flavour to it. That is a brilliant record. But no, I'm not disputing it's a solid album. But there's nothing on that album, nothing on this comes close to Sensitivity.
Sensitivity, okay.
That's my opinion, though.
Sheldon, what makes your number 7?
Heartbreak. Heartbreak. Yeah,
Okay,
Heartbreak.
any Heartbreak, 98
You
8.
know, Heartbreak was obviously a great new edition album. At the time when it dropped, it was a shock because it was more like you really saw. It was almost like it was their very first album. You see the cover, and they're growing up. They got the suits, and they're standing in front of the sport. You know, just it was very exciting. Yeah, Rascal number 7. To see the I know they're gonna slaughter, they're gonna roast me, but it was the reason why I guess I rated it lower than the others because the others I really like, and they were in their new Jack Swing mode. But I'm gonna tell you, the singles, the songs, classic songs, everything. If it isn't love, you're not my kind of girl. I mean, just hit after hit after hit. But I just, it was lower for me because I loved the solo records that had spun off after that. But when you look in terms of a great follow-up, a great peak precursor to Home Again, edition, man, that album's so strong, it's almost like it's just fifth album. What can be said, but great, effort with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. It's almost like they went from producing in the mid 80s, they was doing they still were doing Sherelle and people like that, Alexander. Just their arsenal was so dope, man. And for them to just have song after song, those guys never ran out of gas, man. Competition was a dope record. It's for those guys. They wrote for them, even though the guys weren't necessarily writing songs like that, but they really tapped into the vibe, the way they tap control. They tap into the vibe that she was coming from. And it kind of was aware how other producers later on in the 90s, in the 2000s were writing. And like with Jermaine Dupri and from the conversations that the songs are being birthed out of those conversations. So any Heartbreak is dope. And then the remix, was really dope. Yeah. So that's my number 8. Number 7. I'm sorry.
Number 7. Okay. That's quite. As I said, it's tough. I mean, they came out with some big catalogs. Stevie, what we go to number 6 for you?
The infamous Bobby album.
How dare you? What kind of an insult is that?
Well, I'm not doing it, but what do I actually listen to on this album? What do I don't actually listen to? What do I skip? And there's still a lot of skips on this album.
A few.
Pretty Little Girl, I skipped that one. College Girl, I skipped that one. I'm Your Friend, I skipped that one. Storm Away, I've got to be in the mood for it. But, Humping Around, I like that. I still love that record. Two Can Play That Game, big single. Getaway, good funky record. Till the End of Time, I like that. Good Enough, yep, so catchy. I suppose the tracks that I play the most are One More Night. That's the Way Love Goes. Loving You Down. So yeah, I mean, it's a solid album, but there was no. I think probably what was the big where was the big classic single off this album?
That's the Way Love Goes should have been with featuring Rex and Effect. Should have been the big version of it.
Well,
for me, I think the
reason why that song for song on there, it both Teddy and Babyface in LA, they really captured the whole dynamic of what he is. Song for song, that's great. Yeah, the Good Enough and Good Enough, okay, but the Teddy records were great. They should have made those singles, man. They should have made them sing.
Yeah.
But to put this at number 1. If anyone puts this at number 1, you've got to be come on.
My number 6, and I'll jump to my number 6, and it's the Johnny Gill album. Johnny Gill. It wasn't. It's funny because we all think of it.
Number 6.
At number 6, we think the Johnny Gill album was his. But that had Rob You the Right Way, My, Fair Weather Friend, Wrap Your Body Tight.
Number 6.
It made number
that's
6.
A great album. That's a great album you're talking about.
It is a great
classic material on it.
It is a great album, you know.
Great album.
Karen White sang background on all those on the all the Yellow and Babyface tracks, you know, Fair Weather Friend and My. That's Karen White at the background singing because they were doing her album at the same time, so she was like, yeah, I can sing background, but it was great stuff. You know, I was a little suspect when he did the Robbie the Right Way because he wasn't known to be a dancer, so he came out firing with that, and it felt amusing to me just seeing him really do the whole dance stuff. But you know, he settled down with the My and Fair Weather Friend, and he showed, look, he's the king, one of the greatest balladeers out there. Beautiful album. It's as I said, it's you know he you know, he if not for a certain other album from the clan, he would have had the best start out of the rest. But yeah, that was a good follow up, a good start for him after
Well, a good
Heartbreak.
start on Motown.
Yeah, because I know he had
it's
people
one of
talk about
January's
his
best work. It really is very high. I think it's underrated.
yeah. It's a beautiful. It's a biggest selling. His biggest selling album. But yeah. Sheldon, what's your number 6?
I was thinking about it, and it's too late now because I should have just rearranged it. I should have rearranged it. I should have put this album number 10 and then number 10 number 6. I don't know what I was thinking about. Is the BBD remix album. That should have been number 10 and Ralph should have been number 6, but it's too late now. But the BBD remix album, it was exciting. You know, I think where we started from, that was the joint. That was the record that really stood out on that album. Everything else, you know, remixes here and there, and it was cool. It was almost like, you know,
the Word to the Mother remix.
Word to the Mother. There we go. Okay. Yeah. You know, that was really, really, I love that. And then all the records were kind of like, you know, it was almost like when you look at Bobby had, like, you had Dance You Know It.
Boot City.
Yeah. Dance You Know It. You know what? Let me scrap that. Let me get rid of that. I'm going to just change it again. I'm going to scrap the BBD remix album, and I'm going to put Bobby Brown's Dance You Know It. I'm going to do that. Let's do that. So I'm gonna scrap that. Yeah. So yeah, I'm getting rid of the BBD remix, and I'm gonna put Bobby Brown's Dance You Know It. Yeah, let's do that. You know, and it's funny because it was like when I first heard Dance You Know It, I'm like, dang, Bobby, you just trying to get all the money, because it was like Don't Be Cruel came out in '88. It rolled into '89, and then it was like
Sheldon,
Dance You Know It came out. I think it might have been.
Put the BBD put that back, please, because there's some shocking editing on that Bobby Brown remix album. Shocking.
It is.
Put the BBD.
You know what? But you know what?
Put the BBD back there, please.
Put that back in there. Okay. All right. So what I'll do, I'll appease you, and I'll put them both like joint. But the BBD was, I mean, you know, the Dance You Know It. I was like, man, Bobby, you just trying to get all the money, man. You trying to milk that album out because it was like 90.
What was number 10?
He had Ralph.
Sensitivity.
Right, no. BBD is at number 10. Remix. No, we're having number
okay,
10.
All right, let's do that. Okay, so
and you're Ralph Tresvant.
Right. Okay. Got you, Steve. Got you, Steve. You know what? You were absolutely right. I don't know what I was thinking about. I must have had a concussion before I got here. Yeah, you're right. BBD remix album is number 10, right? Then let's go ahead and I can move up the slot. So BBD remix is number 10. Number 9, Bobby Brown, Dance You Know It. Number 8, Let's Get the Mood Right. Number 7, Home Again. Number 6, Heartbreak.
So you number 6 is Heartbreak.
I don't know where I was at.
Okay.
I don't know what planet I was on, but it's too late. But let's talk about that album real quick. Dance You Know It. It was exciting to have those remixes of My Prerogative and Don't Be Cruel and all that. And it was, you know, and I think that was the first time I heard when he did the Every Little Step remix. Obviously, they did a big world premiere on television, but that remix was on that. You know, I still have the little cassette single for it, you know. So yeah,
Okay.
thank you, Steve. I appreciate you, my man. Steve said, okay.
Steve, what makes you number 5?
So
Number
all right,
5,
so we're good.
we've talked a lot about it tonight. Is Ralph Tresvant's Sense? Well, is it called? No, it's his debut.
It's the Ralph Tresvant album.
If you're gonna go solo from a big group, you need a big record to start things off with. And Sensitivity was a big record. As an album, again, it's a great listen. It's got it's got it all. It's got up tempos, mid tempos, some great ballads. I love the artwork. I like the suit he's in. MCA got a lot of things right.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the singles that were released from it. Some of the remixes kind of let it down, but overall, I mean, I like the Carl West tracks, the swing tracks on it. I thought the Carl West swing tracks were brilliant.
I gotta do.
Do what gotta do. Big single. There is like some really, like Last Night. There's some really underrated ballads on here that people just miss. Love Hurts. I thought. Again,
as I said, I listened to that. If I listen to it, it takes me back. I knew where I was when that album came out. Yeah, as I said, we did. Yeah, I just thought I'd hoped he had come out with a bigger track, not a better track, but I think just a more up tempo one. My number 5 actually, it was hard for me to because we're getting into the crunch here. My number 5 was Heartbreak. Now. If I'd done this,
what is going on with you guys?
If we had done this, if we had done this back in the early 90s, it would have been higher up. But I think what I liked about Heartbreak was that they needed, they needed something big because, Bobby had killed them with that Don't Be Cruel album, and so, they were fortunate because I remember seeing, Is It In Love? Not your type of guy. Can You Stand the Rain? Boys to Men. It was Crucial. Any Heartbreak. The whole thing. I remember. It was such an amazing album. Great production. They had the skits were a little off there and here and there, but really solid album. I guess when I think about it now and think about the other albums, number 5, top 5. That's my top 5. So we've already spoken a lot about it. So, yeah, Sheldon, what's your number 5?
You got to skip me, man, because I had to do some rearranging, so it kind of bumped everything up. So you got to skip me. Just pick me up at number 4. Once Stevie put me on the path, everything just got bumped up. So I've already talked about the albums already. So wait till we get to number 4.
Okay, Stevie, what makes you number 4?
Biv Devoe Poison album.
What? Number 4? Wow.
I played so much back then as a teenager. I remember going to school every morning with my Walkman on and just playing this album to death. It's just, I guess the production at the time, it took everyone by surprise, didn't it, really? Biv Devoe, this Poison came out of nowhere. It was played in all the clubs. Everyone wanted a copy. Then the album dropped. I love the artwork of the album, but the album itself, again, banging. An absolutely banging hard album. The ballads, a couple of great ballads on it. This had everything.
Yeah.
I would say 30 years on, some of the lyrics now, some of the lyrics don't stand the test of time. Seriously, this talks of underage girls in this.
Backstage. I knew you was going to say it.
Very dodgy with everything.
It seems as if they all do that. Remember Keith Sweat in Make It Last Forever? He had the song Right in the Wrong Way. And he says, you might be young, but you're ready. It's like, R. Kelly shouldn't be the only one they're punishing for this stuff because they're always doing it. So
if you go back to a lot of them guys, man, R&B and rap records, LL Cool J's got the one where I think it's Big Old Butt. He's going out hanging out with the high school. You're 6, whatever you said. You're 16, but you don't sleep. It's a lot of them guys, man. They'd be in jail right about now. So yeah.
To go from that to this album, I was wondering what happened here. This.
Yeah,
you know what? I'm gonna tell you what happened, Steve. I'm gonna tell you what happened.
There's a great track on this. There's a Babyface track on it.
Yeah, Something in Your Eyes.
And the rest of it, you're thinking, what is going on?
I'm gonna tell you what happened is that when the music changed, because New Jack Swing had died out and the G Funk was out, and that they would and the tempo slowed down. So those records were in the vein of the G Funk, the whole tempo of the records, the whole energy just changed. But yeah, that album trash.
Yeah, I know this is a joke, right? Yeah, the issue with I remember when Hoodie Mac came out.
I wouldn't say it's trash. That's taking it a bit too extreme. It's not trash, but you've just we're so blown away by the first album that you're like, what is? It's 3 years too late. This what's gone on?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I remember when the album came out and the first single came out, and I was like, okay, what's going on here? Because you think about it, we had Intro, we had H-Town, the vibe, we had Mary, we had Jodeci. The vibe of the industry was even Boys to Men. And so when they came out with that, it was like, okay, what was the deal? And they did most of the production themselves, so it was like they're trying to save up money.
But see, there you go.
They were doing most of the tracks
they weren't trying to save money. They weren't trying to save money. They were trying to keep the money. Yeah. Because what it is that, again, it's the cycle to where now they're getting the publishing or whatever, the royalties, from the album, the big albums, but they're not writing songs. They're not writing on the albums.
Yeah.
So what's happening is the second go around, based on the strength of the Poison album selling like about 3 or 4 million copies, now they're doubling back the same way what Bobby did. Is now you're trying to write and produce on your own because you're trying to get the money. You're trying to build your publishing up.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what that is. You could do that with 3 or 4 or 5 tracks, but you need to get you need to get some A-listers to at least to kick the stuff up. Yeah, but my number 4 is the album that New Edition did when they were on Bad Boys called One Love. Came out in 2004. It had I'm kidding. That was probably one of their worst albums. the whole when they signed with Bad Boy, they had like 3 or 4. I mean, it was as if they're trying to make them be like 112. I was like, it's, and they didn't like the album themselves. So by my number 4,
they said we're not trying to take over the club. They said it. They said we're not trying to take over the club.
Yeah,
Hot Tonight was a pretty cool song, but they
had some good songs. But actually, my number
Memories was the best track on that album.
Yeah, I mean they.
Who produced that record?
Jam and Lewis.
Who did that record?
It was Jam and Lewis. Actually, my favorite track on there was "That's Why I Lied." I don't know if you remember that. So Ralph was singing it and stuff. I think that was my favorite one on the track. But they had some good tracks. But they had too many tracks that made them try to be like 112, and it just didn't work out. But anyway,
it was too formulaic.
Yeah, but my number 4 actually is I could have made it higher. I wish I could have made it higher. I want to say that this was Ricky Bell's album because they gave him his spotlight. They said, Ricky, we kind of misused you. We didn't realize you could sing this well. Ricky led on most of those ballads and songs. I liked how Bobby was doing his Bobby stuff, with the stuff. You Don't Have to Worry is probably my favorite track on the album. I think one of the tracks that probably should have been How Do You Like Your Love, Sir was great. There's something about this whole album. I think here we are now. Where was that song? I Apologize for Breaking Your Heart. What was that track? I can't remember the track now. Hear Me Out. Yeah. I think if that had come out, it was one of those. It was all 3 of them were singing on that. I love the album. Really did love the album. Love the blend. Loved how they are. When that album came out, I was working in Best Buy. I don't know if you guys know Best Buy is. I was working at Best Buy. The album came out the same day as Another Level. So I was working in the music department in Best Buy. I used to play both albums, trying to get people to buy them. I was in Milwaukee. It wasn't really happening. But the thing about it was that New Edition got all the headlines, Vibe magazine, everything, because it was their reunion album. No one paid any attention to Blackstreet. So the first couple of weeks, New Edition came at number one. I think Barkley came out number 7 or 8 in the Billboard charts. And then slowly, after No Diggity, just started to move up. All of a sudden, it just switched. And No Diggity, that sold 4.5 million in the US, while Home Again sold 2 million. But I went on the Home Again tour. And I didn't want to go on it, but I was there. I watched New Edition open up, New Edition, BBD, Blackstreet, and then 702 were the opening act. And that was my first time seeing New Edition and having all 6 of them do their solo stuff and then come as a group. It just blew my mind. And as much as I love Teddy and love seeing Blackstreet, but seeing that Home Again tour, oh goodness, I mean, it was just the most, and having Bobby doing Prerogative, and I didn't realize Chucky Booker was a music director. He was saying that, yeah, he was there when before Bobby went all crazy and stuff. But it was, yeah, that's a beautiful album, and it does test this. It still feels like a relevant album, yeah. But anyway, I kind of went into a little monologue there. But yeah, that was my number 4. Sheldon, we're back to you.
Number 4 for me is Poison.
What's with the deep breath, man? What happened? You just almost as if you're like, what's number 4?
When I know what Poison's my number 4.
Oh, Poison number 4.
It's and the reason why it's my number 4 is that obviously number 4 is because when that album dropped, it was just, first of all, when he was doing, so the look, the visual aspect, man, and then coming out, energy, and it was like the antithesis of what New Jack Swing was doing. I was like, wow, this is like totally different. And of course, they had some strong follow-ups, now in 2023, it's like the album really hasn't aged that for me, but the impact of the album of what it was just like nobody thought those guys would come out. It was almost like when Bobby Brown like left New Edition, and New Edition, they did 1 million copies, 2 movies of the album 5, and then Bobby comes out and just like kills it 2.5, 3 years. It was the same situation with BBD. No one really just realizes the group, and they came out, man, and they did like 1 million, man. They just, they just were in that. So when you look in terms of the producers they had, and they had guys writing for them, writing the rhymes. They wasn't writing their own stuff, but they had a really strong album, though. So,
okay,
number 4.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, okay. Rascal. Yeah. Keith Sweat was on the tour, Home Again tour, but he didn't come to Milwaukee, so he missed some shows. So yeah, but Keith Sweat was on the Home Again tour, but he missed a number of shows, and he didn't come to Milwaukee. Only 702 in Blackstreet. Stevie, what makes you number 3?
And I gotta say one more thing,
my
real
top
quick.
3. I'll be honest. Go on.
Yeah, go ahead.
I gotta say one thing is that in the whole decade of the 90s, Poison is the strongest record up tempo. That record just in the 90s. When they do the top 100 songs of the 90s, I was watching it. Poison was number 1. Poison, the durability of that record is goes without saying. Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry, I digress.
So no, it's good. No, you make a good point because it was such a hard-hitting record. My top 3. Any of these albums could have been number 1. I hold them dearly. I play them all from pretty much from start to finish. It's it's hard to put them 3, 2, and 1. But anyway, let's start number 3. It's definitely not this one, so don't worry, guys.
Okay.
Tell you what, there's some shockers on this, isn't there? Some real shockers on. I mean, there's some good tracks on it, but some of the style of this, it didn't. Oh dear.
What stage or was that?
What? The first Bobby Brown album, King of Stage.
King of Stage, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I think College Girl wasn't bad though. No, not College Girl.
It's not like Girlfriend.
Girlfriend.
But there's some funky tracks on it, the Larry Blackman, but there's some real shockers on that. Number 3.
Number 3.
Oh, it could have been number 1. I told you, any of these albums can be number 1 for me.
Wow.
But if the 1989, 88 person in me would have put this number 1.
Okay.
I'm just thinking of 30, 35 years on. It's overplayed. I know these records off by. I played them so many times. That's probably why. If I've just heard them so many times, and there is maybe one skip on this, which is the song there. Take it slow. Maybe
I really love you. Yeah.
All day, not. I like all day.
But when you,
that's the only skip on it, really.
But take it slow. All day, all night. Those records were produced by.
It's like the Thriller album.
Yeah, you read my mind. Yes.
Paul McCartney track.
Yes.
You skip that, and you play everything else on that. There's one skip, but it could be. It's just we don't need to keep discussing this album. It's number 3.
But you know what? But the reason why those 2 records, All Day, All Night, Take It Slow, those were produced by Larry White, who actually did Girlfriend. So they were kind of in the vein of that. So I think it just kind of filled out the album. I Really Love You, Girl, and Take It Slow.
Yeah, Larry White.
That was kind of in the vein. Larry White, he did those.
Okay.
I don't mind I Really Love You, Girl. I don't mind that. It's the Take It Slow that didn't do it for me.
Okay.
But yeah, that's my number.
Is it like Ice and Water were made for each other?
That, to accompany the Don't Be Cruel, this is a great compilation, and it's got the unreleased remix of I'll Be Good to You. There's a 7-inch remix on this, which only made an actual 7-inch vinyl, but it's got an extra like funky drummer beat in it. There's also an unreleased Rock With Your Quiet Storm mix on here as well. So yeah,
that's a good compilation.
It's got everything. Got everything you need on this double CD. Gold, Bobby Brown Gold, if you've not got it.
Okay.
And my good friend Andrew Knight, NGS4E, writes the linear notes for it as well. Shout to him.
Okay. My number 3 is Poison. And the thing about the Poison album, because if you think about not just the Poison track was, it was just solid. Yes, Spider-Man Freeze, and yes, it was meant for Albie's show, but Albie's show didn't want it, and it just it fit Biv Devoe. But I think the whole fun of the album, yes, back in '90, it just felt like you think about they were TLC before TLC did their whole Ooh and the Chills. That's how they came out. It was like they came out of the sort of clean cuts, part of New Edition, and they just went a complete different direction. And I love the whole Timmy Gatlin Tell Me When I See You Smile Again. It was meant for Timmy Gatlin's album. He wrote it, but when he just didn't have the vibe for doing the album, and so he gave it to them. I Do Need You he did that for them as well. Ricky, I don't know if we knew Ricky could sing that well because he did all those singing in there. But we've spoken about it a lot, and they really, I think Word to the Mother, the remix was better than the original, but it was such a breakthrough album for guys that we just didn't know. So that, for a debut album, that was amazing. Sheldon, what makes you number 3? Yeah, okay. Yes, TLC wanted to be like BBD. It made sense because it just felt like they emulated them. Sheldon, you there?
I think he's frozen us again.
Okay. Okay. So we were down to
Tell you
our
what,
top.
there's great debate on which Biv Devoe album's better in the chat, isn't there? Some people prefer the Hootie Mac album.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
my
I don't
number
know why,
three is the Bobby album.
Okay, Bobby number 3.
Bobby's number 3 for me. It was a grum to Don't Be Cruel. I think that the Teddy songs on there, they didn't get enough love. You know, Teddy, I remember reading something before, and Teddy was talking about how there was a lot of politics going on, and they were really leaning toward the LA and Babyface records. I hate the fact that when the Teddy singles came out, they remixed those singles, and the remixes for those songs weren't that great. I mean, the originals were very. Only thing I think the album time it came out in '92, so it came out the year that Hip Hop Soul was originally coming out. So it was a lot of excitement for the album. Bobby put out this VHS whole Don't Be Bobby joint, had the video, I mean, at the same time. So it was a people loved it, you know. The college, but too much for that. College Girl was kind of in the vein of what he was doing with the Bobby album, you know, that type of thing like that. But to me, that album is almost like it's a great follow-up to Don't Be Cruel. You can tell the songs were tailored for him. It was like, if you look at Don't Be Cruel, if that was a Thriller, the Bobby album was like the bad album. You know, song for song. Super, you know, I love the backgrounds. You know, that's when I think that's Teddy was and his crew was at their apex. You know, so yeah, that's number 3.
Okay, Stevie, what's your number 2?
Number 2, when I've got an admission to make you. When I actually first bought this, and I bought it on vinyl LP, I didn't actually know who they were. I think it was like 1980, and maybe I bought a year after it came out. Obviously, I was in love with the Bobby Brown "Don't Be Cruel" album, and I kept seeing the album in the record, and I thought, who are these guys? But I like the cover. I've just got a good feeling about this album, and I bought this album, and there was a group called By All Means. They were a trio, a girl and 2 guys, and I bought their debut album as well, which is an amazing soul album. We'll do another podcast about them. But my number 2 was New Edition, Any Heartbreak. I didn't know who they were when I bought this album. I just remember getting home, playing the LP, and I just completely fell in love with it. You know, there is some skips on this album, like the Bob. You know, there is a few skips, like Super Lady. Never really competition. Didn't really play that one, but the rest of it, absolutely. I just love this album so much. I mean, I would say after 35 years, some of the Jam and Lewis production. It's a bit clattery. It's a bit, you know, you could argue that it doesn't hold up, but you know, this is, you know, from a boy to a man, from a teenager. I've grew up with this, so this is at number 2. Could have been easily number 1, but it's at number 2. You know, we've discussed it enough. It's got so many big records on it. You know, it's just a great album for me.
Yeah, no, as I said, it's.
I'll be honest. Someone's made a comment. You know. Again, over years, I probably appreciate a bit more now, Super Lady. But at the time, I skipped it. But now,
yeah.
But it's a number 2. It's higher up than what you two put it anyway.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like it only just made your top 10 by the sounds of it, which is like blasphemy, to be quite.
Yeah, well, it's not like when the Devante Swing just crept into Sheldon's top 10 producers. So, yeah, no, my number 2 is Don't Be Cruel. And you know what? I think one of the biggest things I liked about the album was it you know, there weren't that many tracks on there. 8, or I think it was 8 tracks, about 8 or 9 tracks on there. I think it's LA and Babyface's best work. The whole "Don't Be Cruel," that the single, that's the whole song with Bobby rapping and stuff. Um, Probably, strangely enough, I prefer "Don't Be Cruel" to "Prerogative." Even though "Prerogative" was the big breakout, big single, I'm not sure why, but I love "Don't Be Cruel." I just love that particular track, "Don't Be Cruel." It just felt
brilliant record.
the L.A. Reid doesn't get a lot of credit for his drum programming, and he was a drummer, but Daryl Simmons said that was the one thing L.A. brought to their production, was the way he just the whole drum programming and the LA and Babyface signature stuff. Ronnie, and I guess the more the album started to explode, the more Bobby just became Bobby kind of thing. Let's take Rock With You, the whole thing. I mean, I didn't like what was the one he did with he did one with Teddy. I think She's
I'll
My
be
Girl.
good to you.
No,
I'll be
no,
good to
I
you.
was I'll Be Good to You. Yeah,
I'll be good to you.
took me a while to warm to that, because they did. Yeah, it took me a while to warm to that, but I think if you did a poll right now and asked any New Edition fan if he had all their catalogs, the Don't Be Cruel album, to the majority of New Edition fans, when they have all this stuff together, will always come on top. And that's where Bobby just gets all the love. But it was just as LA and Babyface did the big job on that, and that probably explains why they got the green light to release the first two singles on the Barbie album, because they came out with stuff and stuff. But we'll talk about that later. But yeah, the Don't Be Cruel album was my number two. Sheldon, what came after you?
My number two is the Johnny Gill album. Johnny Gill album, to me, that's one of the best R&B albums of all time, period.
Wow.
In any type of time frame. The reason why I say Johnny Gill, testament to him as an artist, because it just like how any Heartbreak gave you different type of vibes or whatever, with New Edition, different type of styles. It showed that was the epitome for Johnny Gill. That album showed that he could do everything. It showcased his ability as a singer to sing different vibes. Shout out to Rascal, Lady Du Jour. I mean, he just had that album, man. Every song was just great. Wrap Your Body Tight, Fair Weather Friends, Rub You the Right Way. It was just like the sequencing of the album was great. It's the order of the singles, almost like, when you look at, and I'm gonna talk about this the number one, but when you look at that album, you can tell there was a lot of thought put in all of the singles. Thank you, Savage One. Appreciate the love. But when you look at that album, it was top to bottom. Every song just stood out on its own. It was like the Rub You the Right Way was the perfect introduction to him, because he's doing the dancing, and the song has a lot of longevity. I'm seeing him on Johnny Gill on TikTok, on Instagram, and people are dancing to Rub You the Right Way, and he's in the videos, So it's a testament. Of course, I was the big record. That's the signature piece. But from song to song to song, yeah, man, no filler on that album. That's one of the best R&B albums ever made, man, for me.
Why isn't it number one then?
Huh? Well, you don't know when I give you my number one
album of all time.
Well,
what are you doing, Sheldon?
I didn't say it was the best R&B album of all the time. The reason why I say it's the best R&B, let me clarify. It's the best R&B, one of the best R&B albums by a solo artist. Because a lot of solo hours, they have a few, 2 or 3 records, and there's like filler that's built around it. But there's no filler on that album. So let me clarify. For a solo artist, yeah, great.
Okay.
Great. So Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and LA and Babyface, I don't know what them guys were doing back then, man, but they just had a wealth of material.
Yeah. And as I said, Johnny did well to get LA and Babyface on the bulk of his 3 albums post New Edition, and more so than and then Ralph tried a little bit, but yeah, So Stevie, then do we need a drum roll? What makes you number one?
Well, come on.
But before you do number one, you go 10
Well,
to 2.
listen, who is the best singer out of the group? Is it Ralph or is it Johnny? This is going to be the argument now. Who's still got the best voice 35 years on? Who's still in the game? Still in the game.
Don't forget, we need to go from 10 to 1 to 2
Yeah,
before you get to.
We're at number one now. And
Yes,
I'm talking about, if we're talking who's going to go to number one, who's going to pip it to number one. Well, for a start, let's put the best singer. Let's put the best singer out of the group at number one. Is there going to be any arguments about could the guy perform? Well, if you watch the Rub You the Right Way video, if you watch the video to Wrap My Body Tight, he can dance. He can actually move. You know, I know Bobby Brown got all the plaudits for his performances, but this guy could dance. He could sing. You know, like Sheldon said, you know, this album's number one. It's you know, it appeals to like hardcore contemporary soul collectors. They'll buy this album. It appeals to New Jack Swing people. It appeals to R&B people. From start to finish, there's not one skip on this album. Not one skip. You've got the up-tempos going into the mid-tech, going into the ballads. Beautifully sequenced album. Even the production, it's not dated. So some of Jam and Lucy's production, like say on the Janet Jackson album, on the Any Heartbreak album, it doesn't stand the test. Some of it's too industrial, some of it's too clattery. I think they refined it. It's just a beautifully refined, produced album. The songs, my. I mean, his vocal on that is just, it's outstanding. So that was an easy choice. It's one of Motown's, you know, probably Motown's 1990s best album by a mile. You know, by a mile overall. But Johnny Gill pips it to me for number one.
Did you see the comment, Stevie? I can't believe I agree with the one who put Madonna as number one favorite singer. Yeah, it was a good album, and as I said, it was Johnny coming out the gates much. You know, I think he shocked everyone how he came out of the
Very difficult to pick between them three. Those should be your top three. Top three. Those are not top three. You know.
Yeah. So, but okay, Sheldon, for those who are just joining, what can you? Sorry, not Sheldon. Stevie, can you go from 10 down to your number one then?
Yeah, number 10 was the Bobby Brown, just to highlight a really good remix package, which I thought was far better than the Biv Devoe remix package and the Dance You Know It one. Was the remix in the key of B, Bobby Brown. Number 9, New Edition, 1984 album for the strength of Mr. Telephone Man. Number 8, Ralph Tresvant, It's Going Down. Number 7, New Edition, Home Again. Number 6, Bobby Brown, Bobby. Number 5, Ralph Tresvant's solo debut. Number 4, Biv Devoe, Poison. Number 3, Bobby Brown, Don't Be Cruel. Number 2, New Edition, Any Heartbreak. And number 1, Johnny Gill's solo album. Well, his solo album for Motown Records, because let's not forget he did 2 or 3 albums before that. For Atlantic Cotillion and with Stacey Lattimore. So
yeah. So this is one where normal service resumes, where all three of us sort of go in different directions when we come to our top 3. But so if we go, and for me, number 10 was Let's Get in the Mood, Johnny Gill, 96. My number 9 was Forever, the Bobby's 97 album, which underrated. Number 8 was Ralph Tresvant's debut album, which came out in 1990. Number 7 was the Johnny Gill, his 93 album.
Let's Get in the Mood, right.
That was Prerogative. My number 6 was the Johnny Gill album, which Stevie just put as number 1. That was my number 6. My number 5 was the Any Heartbreak album. My number 4 was the Home Again album. 3 was Poison. Number 2 was Don't Be Cruel. And number 1, you know, one of my top 5 albums ever is the Bobby album. The
No
Bobby album.
surprise there, then. No surprise there, then.
So
Oh,
there's no surprise that I'm Teddy's biggest fan. The fact that he did 7 tracks on that the Bobby album. But Teddy did 7 tracks on the Bobby album. Politics, because Louis Salles Jr. said that his plan was, we want to use the same formula that we used in Don't Be Cruel and do it on the Bobby album. So the formula on the Don't Be Cruel album was, we do do 2 LA and Babyface tracks, then we come on hard with a Teddy track, and then we go back to the LA and Babyface. So he just thought, yeah, we'll do the same thing. He already knew that Teddy had the heat, but it went with Humping Around, which was probably the worst, in my opinion, the worst LA and Babyface track they came out with. I hated Humping Around. I hated the whole concept of Humping Around, because he just got married and he's singing about humping around. It just didn't work sense.
Do you know what lets the album down as well? His vocal on that album does let it down a lot.
But Bobby sings like that.
I think he's really struggling on that. You know.
Yeah,
the thing with me, I think the
go ahead.
The thing with me with the Bobby album, that was if anything, that was like a thing that really kind of, I don't say it soured me on it, is that the videos. Because when you look at the videos from the Don't Be Cruel album, they really showcase his visual charisma and his dancing ability. But when you look at those videos that came off of the Bobby album, it was like, of course, the whole vibe, the new music had changed, and now he's into the more hip hop vein. He's got all the 65 million background dancers. Like, you know, it was kind of almost like the Poison situation. And I just think that those songs that came out, they didn't showcase his performance ability. That was the thing that was really lost on the visual side.
Yeah. Because
I didn't like the Getaway video. I like the track, but I didn't like the video.
No, that was like a low budget 2B as a 2B video. It was just like the on the street with the riot stuff. I mean, the best video he came out with is That's the Way Love Goes. That's the Way Love is.
I didn't like that.
I didn't either.
To me, that was his. That was
the best videos on that album to me. And people may not agree with me, but if you look at Good Enough and Something in Common in terms of how they were shot and all of that, it was great. It was great as far as the quality of the video.
Yeah,
none of the other videos, man, showcase.
Yeah,
right, and the rest of them didn't showcase.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, I did prefer That's the Way Love Is, and I thought compared to the other videos, I thought that was
it's your personal listening choice, and like you say, you love listening to that. You know, I enjoy listening to the album. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy listening to that album.
Yeah,
with some skips on it. That's all. That's probably why.
Yeah, I mean, and that was probably due to the fact that they unfortunately in the 90s they thought more was best, and I don't understand why. Having 14 to 15, 14 tracks on there. I think he had 13 tracks, but if they had cut down 3 tracks, that would have made it better. But as I said, the Teddy tracks, I mean, apart from Loving You Down, which I thought Loving You Down I didn't like too much, and Pretty Little Girl was another. I don't know what LA and Babyface were doing with that Pretty Little Girl, but apart from that stuff, it was just a magical album, and but I just think that it was just the MCA, and he admitted, Lowell Sal Jr., who was the vice president, he admitted that he messed up in the production in how he released that album. And how he put it together. But One More Night, oh goodness, One More Night is probably one of his best tracks on there. Till the End of Time, love that album. Till the End of Time.
Imagine if Aaron Hall had sang One More Night.
Yeah, I don't know if Aaron was, but I think there's a way that Bobby you know, his grizzly, the way, yeah, I think the song, it fit Bobby the way it just fit his persona. That's how I listened to it, and I
I
think
just
if it
think
was
someone
too
like Aaron
perfect,
Hall could have elevated that to just even higher. But okay, it's just an opinion, really.
yeah, I mean, Two Can Play That Game could have been another big, you
What
know, the
what
one
song?
with
What song
you know,
come out? Oh
One
yeah,
More Night.
yeah.
Yeah, One More Night.
Yes.
So, yeah, yeah. So it was, yeah. I mean, yeah, there was Teddy got nominated for a Grammy on that, and you know, he was unfortunate not to win the Grammy for Producer of the Year on that album. But I think it was part, you know. But after that, Teddy went to Blackstreet. He says, you know, because he was doing the whole thing. They did the production with the on the Bobby album, and then took some of the tracks that they didn't use on Bobby to do the Blackstreet stuff. But yeah,
Well,
that's my
what I
number
will
one.
say, Namdi, is I think how many episodes have we done now? About 15, 16 episodes.
Yeah, maybe so.
And we managed to talk about the Bobby album in every episode. So in the new year, please, let's put this album to bed and not talk about it again, please. We just killed this album. So,
if we're going for our favorite albums, or even if our singles, I'm sure the Barbie album.
We're eating rhubarb, comfort food Sunday evenings. We seem to be eating rhubarb and custard every Sunday here. You know what I mean? Come on.
So that's my number. That makes my number one. Sheldon, what's your top 10 before we get to your number one?
All right, my top 10. 10 is the BBD remix album. 9 is Dance You Know It. 8 is Right. 7 is Home Again. 6 is Heartbreak. 5 Poison. I'm missing one. 10 is BBD Remix. 9 is Dance You Know It. Oh, okay. 8 is Let's Get the Mood Right. 7 is Home Again. 5 is Heartbreak. And I switched it around. 4, I'll give Sensitivity. 4 is Poison. Is Bobby. 2 is Johnny Gill. That's it.
Yeah, and what makes you number one? The suspense is killing us. Sheldon, what's your number one?
Can you hear me?
Oh dear.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. What's your number one then? Yeah. And Sheldon, what makes you number one?
Number one is Cruel.
He got there at the end.
Don't be my number one, because
Don't Be Cruel.
It kind of like that was the kick. Don't Be Cruel was an album that really just, guys loved it. Obviously, but it was just dope, unique. When I heard Don't Be, and then I'm hearing him rhyming in the middle of the record, that was just really like, he did it with Next Door, but when he did Don't Be Cruel, it was super dope, and I loved it because it was the warm up to My Parade. It was the biggest single, but the songs, man, was just really great. Really showcased him as an artist. The sequence, My Prerogative, and they did Roni, and then it was like remix. I remember watching MTV, they did a world premiere, Little Step, and it was just real big. He was like a Michael Jackson. And then speaking of Michael Jackson, Bad had come out the previous summer, like August of 7. Crew comes out like 9 months later. Michael Jackson is still releasing singles on Bad, but it was like when Don't Be Cruel came out, for a moment, Michael Jackson just seemed old. Think about it. Michael Jackson was probably like 29 years old at the time, but Don't Be Cruel just made for a moment. No disrespect, because I love Michael, but it was almost like he was turning into a relic, man. Bobby just had the game in the chokehold. Okay. I love Michael, don't get me wrong, but it was like the whole texture of the album, the beats, the music, the whole thing. It was just like now Michael Jackson, a new version of Michael Jackson. the whole visual aspect of it. But it just may seem like, even though Bad was a big album, Bad just seemed like it was just like I mean, Don't Be Cruel was here and Bad was there. It was like a new style, and Michael Jackson just seemed old at the time. You know, I'm listening and watching Dirty Diana videos, and it has nothing. You know, Don't Be Cruel. Bobby's like about 3 singles in, and it was like, wow, it was just amazing to see, man. And I think that is the bar. That's the album that sealed his legend. And I love the fact that when younger people revisit his career and they go back to those songs, they're like, wow, this guy is it. So when they see him as an older person, you know, but when they saw him in his prime, it's like when we see Thriller, we look at Thriller now. We see Thriller now. We see Mike probably at his peak, you know, in his prime. It's just amazing to see. And I think Don't Be Cruel will forever be an album of rediscovery for people to see how great Bobby Brown was. And I love the fact that that album, even though, you know, years later he would go through his problems and all of that, that album kind of like almost like it erases everything that he was going through that came after, man. And just a great album, bro. So it'll always be there. And I have a better appreciation for Don't Be Cruel, the single. Because before I was like My Prerogative, everything else. Don't Be Cruel was all right. But now I listen to Don't Be Cruel a lot more than I listen to My Prerogative. You know, so dope album.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, as you know, you know, it's the one thing we can say, or probably all agree on, is that as a collective, the 6 of them are responsible for some real good music. And yeah,
fantastic catalogue. I mean, the only bits we haven't really covered in depth, probably because we didn't listen to them, was probably the 80s New Edition, the albums before any Heartbreak, because they had 4 or 5 albums out before then, which I didn't grow up with that side of them, I guess. And apart from Candy Girl, that's the one record I knew, and then later on I heard Mr. Telephone Man. But I didn't even put when I actually bought the Any Heartbreak album, I didn't realize that was Candy Girl. I just didn't.
Oh, the same guys, yeah.
I'm just too young.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, man. I was like, when they came out with those first records, like the Candy Girl album, I was like 14, maybe, and that was a big deal for them to come out because there were no other kid groups that were coming out, man. And it was, you know, it was big to see them. And even though they had the videos, the low budget videos, to see their whole presentation, they was breakdancing and the whole 9. It was kind of interesting to see. I kind of hated it. I was hating on them in a kind of way because the girls were loving them. The girls were loving, you know, Candy Girl and all that. But I loved seeing them come out, and then it was like a step up. When they came out with the New Edition album after the Candy Girl album, it was like a step up with the content, you know, and they just kept doing it and doing it and doing it, man. Like, and again, those songs you talked about, Stevie, Leaving You Again, and, you know, Lost in Love, a lot of those records, man, I totally forgot those records. And when I saw New Edition perform in concert and they were singing, Ralph was singing those records, man, I seen like middle-aged women, man, turning into kids again, man.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the correct thing, is that they after Bobby left, they seem to have had that sort of that, you know, music change and stuff like that. And, you know, Any Heartbreak was just such an important record for them, and especially with Johnny Gill. You know, I didn't like Johnny Gill because I'm like, he just came into the group and here he is singing in front with Ralph, especially in the Not My Kind of Girl. I'm like, why is he singing in the front row while, you know, the Biv Devoe were just doing the background dancing? So I was like, I couldn't get that, you know. But as I said, you know, when you think about it,
should be thankful as well. They're all still here, still alive, still out there, which is, you know.
Yeah.
But not only that, they're almost taken to another level with that, and I think that always sets them apart from any other group, is the fact that they, when they broke away, had the big catalogs and came back, they just became this amazing super group, which, you know, you don't get many groups. You know, it's like I mean, Michael was the only one that really did something big. I mean, the Jacksons had their little album, but you don't get many super groups that split up, release big albums, and then come back together. It's like Destiny's Child, in some instance, coming back together after they've all released stuff, but no one else has really, no one other band, male or female, has really done that. Maybe some rock groups, but even they,
But you,
not to this level.
well, the thing about it, I think when you look at that, because you've always had like super groups that, and you know, I don't want to date myself because there's a lot of people I can name. Some of these people, like, who are these people you're talking about? But you know, if you go back, you know, 60s, a lot of rock groups, they spun off into a lot of people, you know, Crosby, Stills and Nash and the Hollies and this one and that one. So they were really, the rock groups were good for that, you know, members interchanging and all that. But when New Edition did that, you know, for them to be a franchise and then to spin off that way, it was a perfect time, because you, like we talked about this before, is that now they came out at a time where now you start seeing younger people coming into the music business, and the music was a reflection of the younger artists. These guys went in their early 20s, so the music they were making was right in the pocket of their age group, and then the fans, and it's, you know, the fans grew up. So as New Edition was coming out in 88, their fan base was like the same age. So it was like the records were really, really, really locked in, and it spoke to any generation of a certain, looking at them, you know, and they're not like an old group trying to do young music. The music was really like for them to have those hits. And then when you look at what Terry Lewis between 88, 90, 91, I mean, it's just crazy. So I think time, right place, right material, and you got to give it to MCA. Yeah. MCA Records is major because they know Motown, so Motown's an extension of MCA. So the budget, the money, have that promotion. Can't.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I just said it's,
you know, sounds comes out like around like 91, you know, R&B groups crossing over on the pop charts. These guys were straight numbers.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, guys,
and shout out to Leon, because I'm sorry, real quick, shout out to Leon because he's referencing New Kids on the Block. New Kids.
Yeah, Sheldon is fading in and out.
I mean, the whole situation was huge, but it never.
Oops. Yeah. Anyway,
but those guys, with the exception
of. Okay. Yeah. Sheldon. Yeah. Sheldon keeps. He's fading in and out. But Stevie, Eddie, you know, just as we wrap up, though,
we've got one last year. Well, next week. Sorry, our Christmas special. So tune in. We'll be live next week from 9 p.m. Namdi's got a prior engagement in the next 10 minutes with a famous Jodeci artist who's going to talk to. So we need to let him go. So do join us next week at 9 p.m. for our Christmas special, where you the listener can come on live with us. We're going to put the link up. Come on live and have a chat with us. Tell us your top favorite New Jack Swing records, or your favorite Christmas records, or just, you know, be good to talk to you. So jump on live with us. We'll be talking about our favorite Christmas records as well. That's all I've got to say.
Yeah. So yeah, next week, yeah, that should be an awesome thing to sort of a wrap up, and hopefully hopefully we'll need to get AOL for Sheldon so that he can dial up
Yeah.
and get a connection.
Hey man, it rained today. It's been raining all day today, so that's where we're at. But maybe my antenna. I need to go ahead and get my antenna to come up or whatever. It'll be all right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Anyway, guys, it's we always, as I said, as Stevie said, we always appreciate when you guys take part and join in the topics. Put down your top 10 new edition track catalog as well in the chat because it's going to be there for everyone else to see. And next week we will put up the link so you can be joining in, as Stevie said. So from Stevie, Sheldon, and myself, we appreciate you guys. Yes, interview request. Do you think you can get Lewis Taylor? I don't know who Lewis Taylor is. Does anyone know who Lewis Taylor is?
He made some albums in the 90s which were pretty interesting from a neo soul kind of point of view, but not from a New Jack point of view.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we are. Anyway, we don't like to spoil stuff from some of the guests that we're getting, but it should be hot. But anyway, Christmas will be great next week. So from Stevie, Sheldon, and myself,
thanks for tuning in. You all, thank you for giving your time this evening to listen to us three old fogies having a go at one another and our choices.
Yeah,
all in the name of entertainment, though.
It definitely is. Thanks, Richard. Anyway, see you guys.